This show here, if we're going to do this show, this is like the most important show I've done since the Howard Stern days. I have all the documentary evidence here. We're hoping that the television stations, once people see this, they'll talk to other people. It'll have a domino effect. Radio and television are going to pick this up. This is about police corruption in New York City.
Don't call him a he, cause she's a she. It's Elegant Elliot Offman.
Miss Elegant speaking, as we always do. We open up a show with the words of righteousness, godliness, and holiness. And here we go. So I was talking to a bunch of Jewish businessmen. I've talked to people from all walks of life. And they were talking about they own stores. And one guy said, listen to this classic. He's a ganzer Macher. Listen to these words. In Yiddish, that means he's a big boss. You know what I say? I say, sir, you're a couple of dimes short of $1 bill. Your bricks are not all lined up. Your porch light is out. You don't have both oars in the water. The only ganzer Macher, the only big boss is the one up above, the Abishta. In Yiddish, that means the one up above. The Holy One, blessed be He. That's the big boss. Then this is great. I just happened to be I was with, I can't go how I was. I had a business relationship, and some Italian people were talking, and somebody said, just in kind of conversation, they were reminiscing. They were talking about Carlos Gambino and the Gambino crime family, and how Carlos Gambino was the alleged boss of the Gambino crime family. And they used the word, now listen to this, check this out. They called him the Capa di Tutti Capa. That's Italian. Capa di Tutti Capa. Capa di Tutti Capa. You know what that means? That's the boss of all That's the boss of all bosses. The Capa di Tutti Capa in Italian. You know what I say to those people? I say you're apoplectic, you're catatonic, you're epileptic, you're encephalitic, fluid in your brain. The boss of all bosses is dear God in heaven. That's the Capa di Tutti Capa. Capa di Tutti Capa is God up in heaven. The boss of all bosses. I was in a different part of town. I was with some sophisticates. I know you like that word. And they were talking about Pablo Picasso. Everybody knows the ancient Pablo Picasso, literary, artistic genius of paintings, etc. And they compared. They said it was synonymous. Pablo Picasso, P-I-C-A-S-O, Picasso. Did I say it? I get it right? P-I-C-A-S-O, Picasso, Pablo Picasso. His paintings were of the quality, or they were like to be compared with the words of magnum opus. Magnum, M-A-G-N-U-M, opus, O-P-U-S. Magnum opus. The words magnum opus in Webster's and Funk and Wagnall's unabridged edition of the dictionary says masterpiece. And I say to those sophisticates that you don't know what time of day it is. You don't know whether you're alive. You don't know whether you have a C or a C. And you know what that means? Those are two words to describe the male and the female reproductive system. C and C. Think of the words. I'm not going to say it. But you don't know whether you have a C or a C if you're thinking that that's magnum opus. The masterpiece is God. He is the masterpiece. And he created you mean the paintings by Pablo Picasso? Paintings? God created the world, the heavens and the earth. He created everything that's in the world. He created all the animals, all the people, all the insects. From the beginning of time to the end of time. Do you know that dear God knows the count of every single cockroach that's walking around on the face of the earth? Those cockroaches belong to dear God. He created them. Dear God is the magnum opus. You ever hear the French terms? Pièce de la résistance. Crème de la crème. Pièce de résistance. The major accomplishment. Crème de la crème, the best of the best. You foolhardy fools, you foolhardy fools. Those words need to be preserved for dear God in heaven. The best of the best, the crème de la crème, the piece de resistance, the ultimate accomplishment. He accomplished creating the world and the sea and the ocean and everything that's in the ocean. It's a very funny thing. They were talking about these gangs, these Crips, and these Bloods, and the Mafia, and Murdered for Hire, and Murder Incorporated, who they rubbed out and killed. And I say to all those people, you have a glioblastoma. You like that word? You have a meningioma. You have a parasagittal astrocytoma. They never did any of that. They were all doomed. God used these Crips and Bloods and Mafia and Murder High and Murder Incorporated as his executioner. They were dead anyway. Those people were dead. Dear God decreed them for dead. He picked these non-entities, these slingshots to do God's work. They were dead. They were gone. They were buried under the ground. Whether it was a Crips Mafia, God would have finished them in one way or another. And so I say to them, they are a glioblastoma. You know what a glioblastoma, a meningioma, and a parasagittal astrocytoma is? It's three different combinations of cancer of the brain, brain dead, cancer of the brain. And for all you brain dead ones out there, the way you know of a glioblastoma, it has a butterfly effect. The way you know about a meningioma, it looks like a snowball. The cancer looks like a snowball. The way you know about a parasagittal astrocytoma, it's a star-shaped effect. With that, keep all of that in mind and realize that God is the ultimate. Right, so this show here, as I mentioned, this is the most important show like I've done in years. So I need an eyewitness in this room for this show. So if you can't be available for this entire show, so I'm going to cancel it. I'm going to do it next week, and I'll come back with somebody else next week with me that could be a witness to what we're saying. So it's your call, whatever you want to do. I have a lot of evidence. So starting off with, this is a tape of Violet dehumanizes Elegance. Okay. In this tape, the way we have to segue into this is Douglas Hassel, Lieutenant Hassel, New York City Police Department. He is visually and audio, he has a visual audio part on this tape stating that he is my security consultant. You can just extract the part, his part. This is going to lay a foundation for a bad cop, because when he was doing this, he was with the 112th Precinct. His commanding officer was Captain John Lavelle. This is all can be proven, can be corroborated, can be supported. He instructed me, Hassel, never to spill the beans to Captain Lavelle, otherwise he'll have to kill me because he's going to lose his job. He wasn't reporting this. He wasn't reporting the income. He didn't get permission. He didn't have a special license to be a security consultant or a security guard for me. So we're laying a foundation already. He's a bad cop. He busted rules. He didn't follow protocol. He didn't follow NYPD rules and regulations. That's one.
I watched last week's episode, so I'm aware of some of this. And as an owner of the DVD, do you want me to feed you the questions?
Yeah, Gerard, do me a favor. We're not doing it yet until Sharon comes back in. But try to listen to what I was telling you to know.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I said up until now?
I'm listening. I have notes. Lieutenant Hassel, 112th Precinct. His boss was John Lavelle. He didn't report it.
All right. Yeah. So the tape is a segue into a bad cop. He did all these things. He was working as my security consultant, taking my money, my cash money, without reporting it. Without reporting the income, without reporting it to his commanding officer, without getting permission to do it, and without getting a special license. If he's going to be a security guard while he's at NYPD, you can ask anybody. He needs a special permit or a special license to be moonlighting. He didn't do any of that. Where's the income in cash I gave him over a period of many years of close to $500,000? So we have federal income tax evasion, moonlighting without permission. We got a bad cop to begin with, but that's nothing. That's just starting. On November the 2nd of the year 2000, this corrupt cop, this criminal, told Miss Elegante, that unless I give him $10,000, he's going to turn me in to Howard Stern and tell Howard Stern that I'm a convicted felon with countless felony convictions. Now, how did the lieutenant know that? He went into NCIC, the National Crime Information Center. He has access to that. He's a police lieutenant. And he found out that I had 13 felony counts. Many times I get it confused. I said 13 felony convictions. I had 13 felony counts against me. It was consolidated into like 3 or 4 felony convictions. But he had the whole rap sheet on me. And he blackmailed me for $10,000. Now, you see why he did that? Because at the beginning, I didn't want Stern to know that I was a convicted felon. Don't ask me why. I didn't want him to know it. I didn't think it would be salubrious, conducive, advantageous. You like those words? Conducive, salubrious, advantageous to my career moving forward. So I didn't tell Stern nothing. So Castle finds out. He knows I'm with Stern. He's going to blackmail me now. Give me $10,000. I'm telling some, blowing the whistle on you. I'm spilling the beans on you. I'm blowing the whistle. So I had to give him $10,000 in cash under the table. Right then on November 2nd of the year 2000. So we have, okay, that's all right. Now, bingo. On Halloween night, this says to show how many years he's been with me and how he got $500,000 approximately in cash. On Halloween night, October 31st, 2005. This is not the show now.
No, he's taking notes.
Oh, he's taking notes. Lieutenant Douglas Hassel went down to the village with me to try to sell that tape that I just gave Noah. Violet dehumanizes, sexually dehumanizes Miss Elegante.
I own that DVD.
Oh, perfect. So we were going down to the village on Halloween to sell a bunch of them at $39.99 a piece. So after we went to the village, I'm in G-string lingerie. He's carrying the bags. We made out very good. People are buying them like hotcakes. And then we get back close to the Mondrian at 250 East 54th Street, where I was living in apartment 35C, owned by Edwin Tan, a certified urologist. So, and everything, by the way, everything that I'm saying is so accurate. It's just as sure as an erythroplasia of K-Ra is cancer of the penis. That's how sure it is. What I'm saying is accurate.
There were absolutely tapes and recordings of Edwin Tan after the court proceedings. So
okay.
that we're aware of. We've all heard.
1 second on this. So Hassel, after that show was over down in the East Village, he said to me, "Are you going to take care of me?" I said, "Sure, I'm going to take care of you." I went into my brassiere. I took 5 $100 bills out, and I said, "Here you go, Doug." And he looks at the money, and he says, I don't say those words. "What are you, effing crazy? You're a cheap faggot. What are you talking about? I went down and I carried your big bags. I spent hours with you. You made all this money, and now you're giving me $500? Give me my regular $10,000. $10,000, Doug, for spending several hours with me in the village, helping me sell tapes and carry my bags? $10,000? So give me $10,000. You don't want me to come back. I have the key to your apartment and shoot you and kill you in your sleep, do you? I went upstairs to apartment 35C in the Skyrocket building into the sky in the lavish Midtown East. and I brought him down $10,000 in cash on October 31st of 2005. On 12/1/2005, I was being evicted from Ed Tan's apartment. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I'm telling the truth. I was being evicted from Ed Tan's apartment. You know why? Because Edwin Tan didn't want Miss Elegant to walk through his lobby, sashaying in a vagina-high negligee. He wanted I to cover up, do whatever I want on the outside, but go through the lobby, demure, cover it up. And I told him he was insane. The rent at that time, that's like so many years ago, with the parking and everything was close to $5, close to $5,000 then, with the garage and all the utilities. So I said, there's no reason, that's insane. I'm not covering up for anybody. I'm within the law. I'm perfectly legal. I'm legit. I'm kosher. So he wouldn't renew the lease and eventually evicted me. I fought the case. You couldn't win it because it was a sublease condominium. He had to get the condominium back. Okay. Now, on that night, here's the point. When I'm being evicted, the moving trucks are coming, and I give him my valuables. It's in the tape. My lavish crystal from Murano, from Baccarat, from Castabona. And
we saw those in the Cribs edition, so we've seen all of them, what they look like.
Right. Well, you may have not seen it all. In those curios, in those china closets, those lavish china closets bought in Fortune Offs out in Westbury, there was an $8,000 dolphin that was purchased overseas in Barbados by my girlfriend at the time, April. We used her credit card to buy it, and we took it back into the United States. I had on the rug of that condominium, I had a $10,000 antique, a gorilla. It was like a porcelain gorilla, an antique. It looked like the same gorilla you see at south of the border. If you're ever traveling down to Florida and you stop at south of the border, there's a gorilla that looks like a real gorilla, like it's going to come to life. This was a miniature version of that. And I had flower dishes and candy vase from Baccarat. 6 items, at least, were never given back to me, totaling some $30,000. Grand larceny! I gave Doug Hassel a check. At that time, I had money coming in from different directions, from Howard Stern show, and I had an estate, meaning my aunts had died. They left me money. So I never have any bank accounts. I always dealing in cash. So I had an $80,000 check, and I couldn't cash it. Isn't that funny? Everybody should have that trouble, right? They have $80,000 made out to your name, and you can't cash it. So I showed it to him. I said, look, I was trying to brag. Look at this check I got, Doug. And I can't even get, he grabs it out of my hand, not like he does, like that. And he said, oh, don't worry. I'll get it cash for you. I'll cash it. I'll give you the cash back for it. Okay. Well, 2 days, 2 weeks, we never gave me the cash. So finally, each time I call him, he keeps putting me up, deferring, procrastinating, oscillating back, never get the money. Doug, what's going to be with my $80,000? Look, I have a girlfriend I have to confess to, he's telling me, Brunilda, Brulinda, Brunilda. He's from the Dominican Republic, Brunilda. Our relationship is breaking up. The only way I can save this relationship is I have to go down to the Dominican Republic and start over again, relocate, buy a business down there, and buy a house down there. I'm sorry, I can't give you the money back right now, Elegant. By the way, he's the first one that gave me the name Elegant. I never had the name Elegant before. Douglas Charles Hassel gave it to me. Okay. Doug, what do you mean you're not giving me money? Because didn't you hear what I just said? I said, Doug, I appreciate you wanted to save your girlfriend Brunilda, who's a Dominicano, and you have to go down, but not on my money. but not on my money, but not on my money, but not on my money. And this went back and forth. Finally, I had to strasher him. The word strasher in Yiddish, that's Yiddish in Yiddish, means I had to threaten him. Not physically, I had to threaten him. Listen, I'm going to internal affairs. Give me my money and you're going to be dead. I said, because you have the check in your account, they'll trace it down. It came into my name. I never got the money back. You're dead. You'll be gone from the police department. You'll lose your pension. You'll lose everything. So finally, I got $70,000 back, not $80,000. And the reason he took off another $10,000, he said, well, look, Elegant. Look at all the trouble I went through. I had to get it cash. I had to take it to my bank. I had to wait and then this. And it was all kinds. I had to make 3 trips back and forth. But Doug, you didn't tell me when you took the $80,000 check from my hand, you didn't tell me you're going to take $10,000. You didn't tell me you're taking $10,000. And furthermore, you wanted to take the whole $80,000. Okay, so I got $70,000 instead of $80,000. He wanted to take the whole thing. Okay. When he came and he gave me the $70,000, 70, not the $80,000, I had to meet him close to where he lives in Plainview, Long Island. So I went into his car, his private car, and he handed me the money in an envelope in cash, and he did like this. It's a matter of like the whole world, who's ever close to me, the whole world was ever close to me. He gave me 4 punches in the nose and bloodied my nose and said to me that he is going to plant me in the backyard of his house if I ever tell anybody about this. He's going to plant me.
What year was this now? Are we in? Is this still 05?
Yeah, well, this is, he got the goods on 05. I'm sorry, no, wait, hold on. No, that's don't get so many incidents with him. He got the crystal. This over here, no, this was not 05. This was the year of like, this was in between, this was like 2000. I got the first estate check, like, this is like 2002. No, that's now here's one of the final classic Hassel incidents. It's all a matter of record. It's a court procedure. How are you going to beat that? So I'm living at the time when I started with Howard Stern. I had just recently, not that long ago, came back from Florida. I was a convicted felon. I just recently came back. I was on house arrest. I couldn't get out of Florida. And then when I finally changed from house arrest to probation, not parole, I changed the probation to New York. And I was dead, broken, buried at the beginning. So I had to take some beef stew apartment and again, this is, my memory is like Einstein. I took an apartment at 72-34 Austin Street in Forest Hills, Queens, and I lived in apartment 3C. You'll see the relevancy of that information in a moment. A guy upstairs above me, an Afro-American guy, his name was Tyrone Thomas. He lived in apartment 4C above me at 7234 Austin Street. So Tyrone Thomas one day called the police. He called 911. The police came and searched my apartment. They made me open the door. They were going to break the door down. He told the police, he made a false complaint that I have children in the apartment and I'm molesting them and dissecting the children in my apartment. The police, acting on an emergency tip from a member of the building, told me I wouldn't open up the door. They said, look, they have information that a felony has been committed. They have the right to bust open a door if people's lives are in danger. They were so I said, all right, come on in. And of course, they found Bupkis and Gunish and Tushy and Naught and Nada and Nothing and Zero. So he has this false felony complaint that he made against me, Tyrone Thomas. Okay, so I called the police and I said, look, you got to arrest this guy. He made a false complaint. He tried to make a false bust. So they gave it to the detectives and nothing was going down. So Hassel comes into the picture. He's doing my work. He's with me already. And Hassel says to me, now this had to be in the year, also in the early years, because I was still living, I haven't made the transition to Manhattan yet. So Hassel said to me, look, I can get this done for you. We can get this guy arrested and bring him into court. Just give me $10,000 QT under the table. Everything was $10,000. He had a fixation with $10,000. Give me $10,000. I'll get this guy arrested for you. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. Okay. Now,
can I ask one quick question? Because just for clarity, what was Tyrone's problem with Miss Elegante? What was it?
Right. The problem was that we found out subsequently that Tyrone Thomas used to see me doing my running on Austin Street in Forest Hills in G-string lingerie, and he was irate. He was incensed. He was infuriated at this, and he knew there was no way to get back at me unless he wanted to kill me and go to jail. And the only way he figured that he could hurt me was, and he could get away with it, was like to bring the cops to me. But he couldn't bring the cops to me and tell the cops that I'm in G-string lingerie. They would laugh at him, right? So he had to make up this psychotic, this psychopathic, you like these words? This sociopathic kind of incident to make the cops listen to him. So that was his problem, a homophobic hatred against Miss Elegant. Okay. Well, Hassel got the guy locked up. And the guy was brought to Queens Criminal Court, and we were given an order of protection. The guy violated the order of protection by kicking me. Hassel had him re-locked up. So, but I'm saying to Doug all the time, I'm saying, Doug, this is very nice. You had the guy locked up not once but twice. And the rest will still be in the court of law, in the Queens Criminal Court. But the problem is, Doug, this guy was supposed to be locked up without me giving you $10,000. He turned in a false felony complaint. He kicked me when he had an order of protection not to go near me. So he was supposed to be locked up. Why am I paying $10,000? This is extortion. It's a shakedown. Okay. Now, you have the basis of what's going on. Can we start the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gerard, you want to?
Wait. Now, Gerard, do me a favor. What time is it, folks?
4:36.
Okay, so what time, so everybody understands each other, what time is this show running to?
Don't you need to leave?
How long is it going to take?
Well, depends. How long do you need?
Well, I want to do, I'm going to, Gerard.
Yes.
I'm going to skip the health segment today because this is so critical, what I'm talking about right here. But one thing I won't skip, I need a few minutes before we start to bring God into the picture like I always. That's the first priority. And then we can move right on to this. We'll skip the health and we'll skip everything else.
And do you want me to, based on all, I have like 4 pages of notes now. Do you want me to walk through this with questions and then you can intersperse what we just talked about?
Well, that's right. You can if you like. Yes.
And so then, using one of your terms, what is the crescendo with this story? Where do we stand today? What are we trying to get out into the world?
So we're trying to get out. I'm going to give a document to Noah right here. So this is these 2 documents here is what I promised. Anything I promise, I deliver. This is $24,000 of receipts from a reliable and reputable law firm, the Bogaraz Law Firm. I paid them $24,000. Do you have a $20,000 receipt there, Noah?
Looking, hold on.
It's in yellow, Noah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I do.
Okay, and there's another one for $4,000 right in back.
Yep.
Okay, so Noah Platt is in possession of $24,000 in legal receipts, and on the 20, you see Hassel's name all over it.
Yep.
Hassel's name is all over it, meaning they are being paid to uncover and unveil the expose. Expose the expose of the cop, Lieutenant Douglas Hassel. Either bring him into federal court, bring him into court, if the statute of limitations would permit it on a continuation theory, or expose him to the media I have over here.
But he's retired now, so he can't lose his job.
But he can still lose his pension. The pension, they can take away at any time once they find out that he's corrupt. They can take his house away, they can take his pension away, they can do many different things. And most of all, what we're trying to do, we're trying to expose his bad name to the world. We want to let the world know that there are people like Miss Elegant that even though they weren't killed, like unfortunately like Eric Garner or George Floyd, there are other bad cops that are doing horrendous, hellacious, horrific things to people, and nobody comes forward. So you're supposed to say to me, if you want to, Mr. Jerry Gerard, why did I wait all this time? Because I was in fear of my life. Just like the girls who didn't turn in Maury Povich, they were afraid of shame and disgrace that they were sexually misled or mistreated or mishandled. I was in fear of my life. He was going to plant me in his backyard. He has a gun. He's coming into my house. He's going to kill me in my sleep. Well, finally, when COVID-19 came around, and I had a separate incident for the first time like in 20 years with the police on March the 19th of this year, people have suggested to me that this could be Douglas Hassel, and that's what we were trying to get a connection to, working from the background. Why would the police do what they did to me on March 19th or attempt to do what they did if Hassel wasn't still stalking me in some way? I have over here, and I'm going to give to Noah Platt, not only did I pay a lawyer $24,000 and an investigator, I turned him in to the Civilian Complaint Review Board, who turned it over. They thought it wasn't good enough. They turned it over to IAB, to Internal Affairs, for corruption. And Noah, you have the Internal Affairs number right there on the top regarding the complaint against Lieutenant Douglas Hassel. You see the IAB number right there? Okay. We're waiting to see what Internal Affairs does with him.
Well, what I think the obvious question we're missing here, Ms. Elegante, is what happened on March 19th? Without that, how can you prove that it was a screw job and a bunco?
Okay, so even without, let's just say, without March 19th, without it, without March 19th, we have holocaustic type of acts, in a manner of speaking, that he has done to me. We have holocaustic type acts. Bloodied my nose, took $10,000 from me, told me he's going to kill me in my sleep, stole $30,000 worth of lead crystal, which I entrusted him with, threatened to expose me to Howard Stern. These things are almost beyond belief, especially for a police lieutenant from the NYPD. We're dealing, I'm going to use the words again, we are dealing with a psychotic, psychopathic, sociopath in Lieutenant Douglas Hassel. This is what we want to show the world. And we want to show the world who he is, and I want him to try to refute everything that I said. He can never refute it. And the more he will try to refute it, he'll bury himself, he'll dig himself deeper. Because what Hassel will try to do when he's confronted, he will try to give the world, now listen to this, he's going to be like the best sophistration artist, like that word? The best equivocation artist, the best fabrication artist, the best prevarication artist known to mankind. So as he's doing this sophistry, and as he's doing this equivocatory work, and as he's doing this prevaricatory work, he'll sink himself further. People will see the inconsistencies and the contradiction. They will see it. He'll take himself down further. So that's where we're holding. But on March 19th, the incident was simple. So cops were suddenly, they were stalking me as I was running. Nothing like that ever happened. I'm just giving a quick outline for now. It can be more details. They were stalking me. Then they were laying for me. I have a spot where I usually spot up. That means I usually take off for the final sprint on 72nd and 1st. And the cops were like mounted up there. They were like 10, 15 cops on foot. You haven't seen 10 or 15 cops on foot in the classy 72nd and 1st Avenue in 30 years. You haven't seen 10 or 15 cops there on foot. They were laying for me. They waged a trap. They were trying to see how they can like collar me, do something to me. With that, right while that was going on, an ambulance pulled up, an FDNY ambulance pulled up. They said, "Come over here, faggot boy, come over here." They called me over to the ambulance. Said, "You want to come with us?" "What are you trying to come with you?" I said, you don't like transgenders? You don't like transsexuals?" As I'm walking away, "You got any money on you?" So all of this had a bad scent. It had a bad aroma, had a bad taste. Money, money. All Hassel wanted was money. Faggot, faggot. That's what Hassel used to call me, faggot. All of a sudden, after 20 years, 15 years from 2005, where did this surface from? I mean, this just came out of nowhere, all these words. So I don't know that Hassel ever left my life. Maybe this has nothing to do with it, maybe it does. But again, we can sync Hassel, just sync his name and sync him with the NYPD on everything that I just stated and with the evidence that I showed from the tape. He wants to be my security consultant. But what about federal tax evasion? Where's the $500,000? How much is he going to say I gave him? I'm a big tipper. I'm a very generous person. I gave him tons of money, thousands of dollars each time.
But was it all cash?
All cash. Now, but that's great. Where he has to report that.
No, but how isn't it just his word versus yours at this point? Or do you have bank statements of taking out large sums of cash to be able to prove it?
Are we talking about the tax part?
Well, if you're saying that he's not reporting his taxes and you gave him, let's say, over a 10-year period, $500,000.
10 years. I didn't say 10 years. I said 5 years.
Okay, so regardless of the timeline, if you gave someone $500,000, it's your word against his. Is that
you should ask me that on the show. That's perfect questioning. So I'm going to come back and say to you, that's great. So you mean like I wasn't giving him this kind of money? This guy was doing it. A big police lieutenant who was making already like $80,000 a year. He was doing this for a hobby. He was doing this because he liked my vagina. He was doing this for pleasure. He was doing this for comicality. He was doing this for joviality. He was doing this for jocularity. He wasn't taking any big money from. Doesn't make sense. He's going to lose. Of course he was taking big money from me. Then we go to federal tax evasion.
But again, with the burden of proof being on you to say that you've given him all of this money, how do we go back in time to prove that, yes, this happened? Because, Ms. Elegante, I do love you. You know that, and I believe godliness, holiness, and righteousness. But you are a convicted felon, and he is a man with a badge. So how do you overcome that?
We overcome it by the following. First of all, whatever happened in my past of 40 years ago, I'm not the same person I was 40 years ago.
Nobody is.
I am a righteous, God-honoring, God-loving, God-bowing to, God-fearing person. So at 40 years, it's not the same person. That's number one. That's out. It's out. Not the same human being. Number two, I'm going to come back again. I'm going to ask whoever's going to ask me, how do you prove it? So I'm going to go back and say to the person. So in other words, I paid this in cash. But there's circumstantial evidence here. Meaning, if you wake up in December and your lawn is filled with snow, you figure that it snowed overnight. We can't prove it. So a dump truck could have come over and just dumped the snow there. We can't, but it's circumstantial evidence. The man is with me for 5 years, countless hours every single week, and many times days. What was he doing this for? For sweat, for air, for a cup of coffee, for a grain of salt, for a teaspoonful of sugar? What was he doing it for? For big cash money. It stands to reason. It raises issues to the American world.
It sounds like cash was his favorite nutrient.
Well, that's my words. Don't steal my stuff.
Well, but I know I keep coming back to this, but I struggle with the statute of limitations and also the he said, obviously, Officer Hassel versus the she said, Miss Elegante. How do we reconcile that without concrete proof? I mean, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence in the world, like the glove with OJ.
Right.
OJ is free. So how do we? There has to be bank statements where you took out large sums of cash. That's going to be.
Yeah, I can't because I don't have any banks. I never had any banks. It's not the way I did business all my life.
So you had $500,000 under the couch?
But Mr. Gerard, it wasn't given to him in $500,000. It was given to him in increments,
right.
Payments over a period of 5 years. 5,000 here, 3,000. Then the 10,000, all the 10,000s that he extorted from me. It added up to approximately $5,000 over 5 years of him being with me, or 5.5 years.
Right.
Now, again, like you just said about OJ, sure, he's walking free in the glove and all that, and the LAPD goofed it up, but everybody to this day knows or believes, anybody who's in their right mind believes that Simpson killed them all. I mean, I believe he killed them all. He wiped them all out. And I can't think of the name of his attorney. He was good. He had those catchy phrases. And
Kardashian, and he had the other gentleman.
He's dead.
Kardashian, yeah.
Yeah, he's dead. In any event, yeah, they had catchy court phrases. Simpson, that tremendous celebrity, he was loved by the world. That helped him. Nobody even realized how much that helped him. So, and again, the goof up and the foul up and the screw up by the LAPD. But to this moment, any sane person, any reasonable thinking person knows that Simpson should have been in the gas chamber. Okay, but he beat the rap. Fine, good. Okay, that's it. This case that I will present against Hassel, whether I can prove it or not, will open eyes. It will besmirch his name. It will besmirch his reputation. It will bring the world into the world of Douglas Hassel as the cesspool septic tank scum of the earth, scum of scum that he really is.
So, all right, let's first off, thank you to the AftershockXL network. And I don't know if I'm the first, but I'm the proudest owner, Miss Elegante. Take a look of the brand new Miss Elegante throw pillow, right? You like that? Look at that.
Wow.
Between the eyes.
Right between the eyes.
Beautiful. My kids love it too.
Make sure, Gerard, I was talking it over. So God forbid anybody should ever think I'm tacky, because the colors are similar. When I was here the last time, I had a plaidish pink.
I've seen it.
The vagina high negligee. This is polka dot pink, and it's extra high. Extra high, vagina high, G-string butt high. And I'm not wearing those pink dress shoes. I'm wearing the Air Max pink right out of the box from Nike. So God forbid anybody should think that I'm dressing tacky. Now check out, let the camera check it out. How flat, listen to what I'm saying, the vagina area looks. You can go back and prove me right. When I was doing one of the Stern shows, my vagina area was so flat, Stern said, how do you do that? Do you tape down your genitalia Check out Stern's words. Go back to the article. It shows. So this is the flat vagina look.
Which is especially impressive because in some episodes it was bulging.
Yes, that was a different situation, but that situation doesn't exist anymore.
Right. So I'm not sure how, we just had a pretty deep conversation. I'm not sure if we want to get into this today, but a couple of episodes ago, there was a video that we discussed briefly, and you said you were going to watch the video in front of a synagogue. Did you want to comment on that video and put a little bit of color around it as to what may have been happening in that video? Were you being accosted? Were you being harassed? Because it appeared that there was a lot of aggression in that video. Do you recall the one I'm speaking of?
Yeah, and you or Sucker, whoever was doing that interview, you were wrong on one thing for sure. It was not in Manhattan. That was in front of 770 Eastern Parkway, in front of Lubavitch headquarters on Kingston Avenue. So you were wherever you thought it was completely off target.
And where is that then? I'm
770 Eastern Parkway is the Crown Heights section of Brooklyn on Kingston Avenue.
Okay.
Section of Eastern Parkway and Kingston Avenue, Crown Heights, Brooklyn, 770 Eastern Parkway address.
I didn't think you spent a lot of time in Brooklyn. I'm surprised to hear that. That's why we thought it was.
I did not spend a lot of time. I spent a minimal amount of time there. And by the way, just as you said that, I'll make this short and sweet. I'm 70 years of age. It's hard to believe that I am, but I am. And I have spent, I was trying to calculate, just about 90% or thereabouts, I'll get a closer figure next week, of my life in Midtown Manhattan or the Upper East Side. So for example, I lived for years at 515 East 72nd Street in the River Terrace, lavish. I lived in the Mondrian years, 250 East 54th Street, apartment 35C. I lived in my wonderful mama's beautiful house, 1267 First Avenue on the corner of First Avenue and 68th Street, years. I lived when I was a criminal, of all things, and I came back to New York as an interstate fugitive both ways. I lived at 400 East 55th Street, ironically, across the street from where I'm living right now. And the owner of that apartment was Vinner Safian. I lived in apartment 11D. Vinner Safian, she's still alive till today. I ran this scam with the Chinese underworld, the Chinese gangsters, right from her apartment, 11D, 400 East 55th Street. I lived a block away for many years in the plaza on the 25th floor, 400 East 56th Street. I lived for years in the Picasso building. Not that lavish, but beautiful, 200 East 58th Street. So I've lived in Manhattan now for the last few years. Of course, did I give my address already? It doesn't. I already gave my address this thing, so it doesn't. Well, I live at 55th and 2nd Avenue now, so for years. Okay, but in any event, so what was the question about? Yeah, I haven't spent much time in Brooklyn. That's why I went to.
Well, so you're circumventing the question.
I didn't mean to.
Explain the video. Because it was a bit disturbing. It reminded me a little bit, took me back to the DVD days of where you were a little unhinged. So I'm just wondering what caused that, because it's been on a lot of websites and I believe it's got a lot of views, and I want you to be able to have yours on it.
You said I was unhinged. Do you know what the word unhinged means?
To come off of a hinge.
Right. And do you know what that means exactly? How are you using that?
I'm using it with respect to what appeared to be an episode where potentially all of your faculties may not have been with you, or you were being harassed in such a way that you needed to stand up for yourself. And we don't have that context, and that's what everybody's been asking about, the context.
Right.
Knowing what's happened to you before with some of the Hasidic communities and how you've been harassed and had problems with, that's why people are thinking perhaps this was another incident like that. But in some of the video, you did appear to be the aggressor.
Okay. So the first thing you should do is delete and expunge, obviate and obliterate. Delete and expunge and obviate and obliterate, delete and expunge, obviate and obliterate. I said that 3 times, that I didn't have all my faculties. If you say that, then I think you're trying to disrespect Miss Elegant. Then it's the end of the show.
Never do that. Never do that. My apologies. Just trying to look at it from every angle.
All right. Next thing is, so if it appeared that I was the aggressor, then you only have the part that I was being aggressive.
Right.
So somehow, the part where the first part, which led me into that, was not shown or was not filmed. They just took the part. Whoever did it, whoever did that camera work, did a selective camera job. They took the part where I was saying F words and this word and all those things. But what led to that? You mean a person like Miss Elegant, who disturbs nobody, troubles nobody, bothers nobody? You mean I just went to these people and I start using it? Of course not. So there was an attack, a verbal attack, a threatening attack, menacing attack of wanting to remove Miss Elegant from the sidewalk, from that whole block, from Brooklyn Avenue till Kingston Avenue. There's a whole block. I'm doing my running back and forth. So we already know, regardless of what kind of establishment is there, it can be religious, it can be the governor's office, it can be Trump's office. I have a right,
absolutely,
to run in G-string lingerie as long as my vagina area is not exposed anywhere, at any time, any place in the state of New York. That's the law. I was going to say the country, but I don't know what the other laws. Maybe something is different in Waxahachie, Texas, or in Dubuque, Iowa. I don't know. But in New York, that's the way it is. That's the rule of the land. And they were trying to uproot, uplift, get me out, and putting all kinds of pressure and death onto me. So yeah, that's what I guess wasn't shown. And when I was responding back and saying, "Look, you're a yellow dog," or whatever I was saying there, that was in response to what they had initiated, what they perpetrated, and perpetrated to me first.
And I think a lot of people thought that was the case, especially with some of the other incidences you've had with that community. So I'm glad you were able to clear it up. Thank you. Okay, one of the favorite segments that people like is the word association. Now let's go reverse word association. I'm going to say one of your key phrases, and I need you to tell me the first person who comes to mind when we say that.
I don't think I understood what you said. You better tell me that again.
I better get the marbles out of my mouth. So I'm going to say one of Miss Elegante's most famous phrases or words. And when I say that with just immediacy, what name comes to mind when you think of this?
What name or what about what event comes to my mind? What about that situation?
That's fine too. I think the words that we have here will lead to people, but however, that's the fun of this. It's whatever.
Okay, great. Let's go.
All right, first one, beef stew.
Oh, that's easy. Shmuel Offen, Sam Offen, my father. He was the one who created that expression.
And that's an absolute gem. We love that one. It is wonderful.
Yeah. So I got that from Sam Offen.
Okay. Rusty nail.
Oh, that's terrific also. Joseph Offen, my other uncle. He's no longer with us. Joseph Offen.
Now, are these both brothers of Murray?
Yes, they're both brothers of Murray Offen, the genius in the medical and physiological field, and the one who had $70 million from the pornography industry back in the 60s. Yes, they are.
Right. Troglodyte.
Oh, that's one of my own.
Okay.
Troglodyte, bedlamite, and parasite, Lugaroo, those are my own.
Oh, well, Lugaroo was the next one. Do you know what a Lugaroo is?
Of course.
It's like a demon, right? Or
wrong. It's a werewolf. W-E-R-E, spelled funny. W-O-L-F. W-E-R-E. W-O-L-F. Werewolf.
Got it. Carcinoma teratoma. You've called Gary Delabate that several times.
Carcinoma teratoma. I think you got that backwards. I think the word you're looking for is say that word again.
Carcinoma teratoma, or perhaps actually I may be getting confused. That's what he called you.
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't. Don't put words in my mouth. I said a teratomatous carcinoma.
Okay, my mistake.
I didn't make a mistake. Teratomatous carcinoma.
My mistake.
What about it? You didn't answer. What about it?
No. Just who comes to mind when if you were to call someone that today, who would come to mind?
If I was to call somebody a teratomatous carcinoma victim,
right?
right, I would be thinking to call that to somebody who I regard as the lowest ends of the world, somebody that I don't even think is worthy of being in this world because they're either dangerous or they're liable to go out and hurt somebody or kill somebody. And those words, I think I've said it. If I didn't say it, I'm telling you one more time so you don't get it wrong the next time. A teratomatous carcinoma in the medical world, go to your oncologist, go to your hematologist, prove Miss Elegant right again, is the most ugliest kind of tumor known to mankind since the body has been created by dear God in heaven. Why is that? Because a teratomatous carcinoma, if you look at it in pathology, if the pathologist looks at it in a pathology laboratory, it actually is comprised, now check it out, of broken nails from the fingers or toes, broken teeth from the mouth, bits of hair from the head, and skin from the body. That's what this tumor, this malignant cancer, is comprised of. A teratomatous carcinoma. But you didn't say, well, where does this affect? The male reproductive system. Now you got it right. You'll never get it wrong again.
Got it.
Miss Elegant, you're such a genius.
So we're running short on time.
Miss Elegant, you're such a genius.
Miss Elegant, you are such a genius. Last question for this time, because I know we have some holiness and godliness to get to. But my last question is, and this is not meant to offend, but this is a question that's been asked on the board many times. When is the last time you've had an intimate relationship, and was it with a man or a woman?
So that's okay. I don't care if it's intimate. I love intimate questions. The last intimate relationship that I had was, I'm trying to think if the very last one was with April or it was with Violet Maliver or April Lockey. But I would have to check the archives of my diary to be exact. But it was either with one or two of those, and that'll swing all the way back to like somewhat 15 years ago. So that's it. So Stern once asked me a question like that. When was the last time you had a relationship, had sex? And at that time I answered it was with, I think I said Rivka Tab. That was like my second wife at the time. That was my third wife at the time. And getting all these wives and girlfriends. But yeah, so Stern asked me a question like that. So I haven't had a relationship with a man or a woman. Not that I would ever have a relationship with a man, because I don't do those kind of things, because I'm not homosexual, I'm transsexual. And I'm too close to God to do anything like that ever. So you can't give me $1 billion in cash. Now, excuse me, it's very important. Let me finish this thought. I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, Gerard, that I wouldn't like to have funky, kinky, raunchy sex with a man. I didn't say that. That may be a very prevalent thought, or a very prevalent wish that I would have. But I'll never let it come true. The wish will never come to be, because it would alienate, it would upset, it would anger dear God against me. Forget about it. It's not worth my health and my life. It's not worth anything to upset dear God. It's in the Torah. There's one thing about a Torah law of being in lingerie. That's one thing. Then there's another law about having relationships, oral sex or anal sex with a man. Forget about it. You can't write me a check for $10 billion. So whether I would want it, it would never happen. and it has never happened. And the last girl experience I had was April of Violet some 15 or 17 years ago.
Okay, well, I think that's going to open a whole Pandora's box of new questions for next time, but we are out of time today. Miss Elegante, a lot of interesting stuff to unpack. I'm excited for the fans to see this episode, and I wish you the best, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't call him a he, cause she's a she. It's Elegant Elliot Offman. Don't call him a he, cause she's a she. It's Elegant Elliot Offman.